Welcome into this Thursday edition of the Oxford Exxon Podcast.
I'm gonna interrupt and give everybody. I'm gonna give everybody a little inside inside chase. Instead of just saying, "Hey Neil, you turn the light on if you get a chance," he snaps and points. And sometimes he'll just say,
"Well,
light."
that was less less invasive than going, 'Hey Neil, we forgot to turn the light on.' So I'll just tell you, 'Hey, go turn the light on,' as we're getting going this morning." I did snap at him though. It was probably kind of rude on video, but it was off to the side. It was off to the right. It was out of camera. It is our podcast equivalent from when that infamous moment with the Tupelo meteorologist when he started snapping at the other guy during the tornado here.
It's like, here, Spot, get light.
Yeah. So anyway, Ross Dellinger joining us today. Jeffrey Wright on the line now. We'll get to him in 1 second. But as we tell you every single day, the podcast is brought to you in part by the Oxford Exxon Critical Company, Oxford Exxon Highway 6 West. Use the Speed Pass Plus app. You don't have to touch much. You can pay right there on the app. You can take care of things that way. And you go next door and see the Oxford Crystal. Use the drive-through for that. And you can also put your name in the fishbowl at each Critical location, or what a combo location of Crystal. And on April 27th, they're going to pick out one from each location. You get free Crystal for a year that way. And again, coming to you from the Clark Ford studio.
We are Clark Ford's in Amory, Mississippi, 662-257-1900. Call that number. Ask for my friend Corey. Tell Corey what Ford product you're looking for. He'll send you a quote within 15 minutes in business hours. It's that simple. It's right to the bottom line. No hassle, no haggle. And the rest is up to you. You're going to get your quote. You can shop it around if you'd like, or you can do what I've done, what I think you will end up doing too, and that's hopping into a Clark Ford. You'll love the product. You'll love the service after the sale. They just take great care of you. They really do. Corey wants to be your car guy. He wants to be your truck guy. He'll prove it to you. When you call the number, 662-257-1900, Jeffrey Wright, Ross Dellinger, and all other guests join us on the Rafters Music and Food Hotline. When this is all said and done and we're over and we get back to whatever normal looks like on the other side of this, remember Rafters and the people there at Rafters Music and Food. Be a great place to gather, have a few pops, enjoy Sunday bluegrass brunch as well. Rafters Music and Food on the Square in Oxford.
Jeffrey, good morning. I know you guys were in different rooms, and that's the way they're kind of handling this from your standpoint. Does it help you a little bit just to get out of the house, though? I've noticed that even just coming here for the podcast, there's a certain nice thing and a little routine of just moving away from my residence at some point in the day.
Yeah, there's an element of that. I don't know about you, but for me, it's been, of course, I guess now y'all are just kind of getting there where your friends are going to start working from home. Your friends that are like used to going to an office and whatnot. I mean, I guess, everyone that's, works at the university's been here for a while. I'll tell you what's been a fascinating case study. People that have never worked from home. I think working from home is one of those ideas that is way better in your head than it is in practice. And you realize like, oh, there is a human need to go to an office, or there is some type of need for a separation between home and work. Like you always hear work-life balance as a buzzword, but you do realize like there is kind of a wiring desire for something along those lines. And, I mean, I did it for a long time with living with y'all, or, living down there with y'all. And like, I just remember at certain points, like I would just go to that media workroom at Ole Miss just to get out of the house. Like it is a interesting case study to look at how everyone's handling it.
Yeah, working from home, especially if you have multiple people in the home, is a whole different thing than you've got in your head of, hey, I can just stay in my sweats all day. You know what I mean? I mean, you've got to manage that thing, or you'll drive yourself kind of crazy. There's a huge thing in that. So,
like I do understand if you are the type of person that just doesn't like want to wear work clothes at home. Like I'm not going to, I'm not going to scoff at you. I do think that you'll find if you start treating, like try to keep as much of your routine as possible. Put on work clothes, like keep your morning routine as much as possible, because if you do the whole like, I just want to wear my sweats and whatnot, like you will not be productive. Like you're just gonna, like, it's just part of it. And, it's definitely an adjustment. And I completely understand everyone that feels as if, they're starting to go crazy by just from this aspect.
Yeah, I think people like us have an advantage because this is not the whole. I mean, I miss going to the gym. Other than that, my routine's basically the same. I mean, I'm just now having to find different ways to work out here as opposed to going to the gym on the days that I would go to the gym. So other than that, there's not a lot of change really. But you're right. I mean, the key thing working at home is like for me, it's don't turn the TV on. Don't lose track and get into a show. Just do your work. Get your stuff done. Get your exercise. Do your work. At the end of the day, kind of that's been the key thing for me. Like, there's a TV in here. It's never on.
Yeah, I think that's another pretty good piece of advice because you can kind of convince yourself like, oh, well, it's just background noise and whatnot. And there are, I openly admit, there are plenty of people that can just flip the TV on and that not affect them from a productivity standpoint. But for me, I'm ADHD to the absolute max. Like it was always just a distraction. The only options I really had was, okay, I could turn news on, or I could turn on like ESPN news, if you will, where it's just like something that's essentially the same thing over and over again, and there's a ticker, and you just use it essentially as a news feed. But once for guys like us that just live on Twitter as their news feed, I found that if I turned the TV off, it was definitely going to be more beneficial.
Yeah, I don't mind background noise. It doesn't bother me at all, but it has to be either a show that I've seen so many times I don't care about, or you just turn on some random golf tournament or something that I'm not really watching. You know what I mean? Like, I can kind of just leave the golf channel on in the background all day, and I'm not paying attention. I don't care, but it does throw something up in my background that seems to help me out a little bit for whatever reason. So
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's it's like art on the wall. Like it does allow you in those moments of pleading for your own sanity with yourself to look up and see something different. So I mean, I do think there's some value, but even like for me, a guy who's seen every episode of South Park numerous times, even if like now they have South Park marathons on, it's like basically Comedy Central's programming right now is just showing every rerun they can of South Park or The Office, and like if I turn that on, like I would, even the fact that I've seen both those shows such a high number of times, I'll just find myself like, you know what, I'm just gonna turn my brain off and try to laugh, and then you look up, it's like, oh god, it's 2:30.
are you in on Ozark? Was that one of your shows?
So I'm not like against Ozark. It's just I've never started it, and my problem now with Netflix and other streaming services is there's too much content. I feel like I spend more time on Netflix, HBO Go, Showtime, whatever, all the options that I have. I feel like I spend more time looking for something to watch than actually just like starting something and going. And then I wind up just watching Sherlock for the 8,000th time.
I started Ozark years ago, a couple years ago. I liked it fine. It was fine. I'll probably end up picking it back up because why not? But like I never just fell in love with it.
I'm also kind of done on the whole, drug cartel thing. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. Like, it's just not all that fascinating to me anymore.
I'm 5 episodes into Tiger King now. Got 2 to go. It's good.
I have 0 to watch that.
Yeah, I tried to watch a couple episodes and just stopped and said, I get it's dumb, I get it's crazy, I get that it's so far out there and it's whatever, but it was, maybe it's my mood. It was nothing that appealed to me whatsoever. And I know I'm in the minority, but I am.
I like it fine. It's good. It's the people that are like, I watched it a third time. I'm like, well, I don't know how in the world you could watch it a third time. One time will be plenty. I like Schitt's Creek. That's the one that Laura doesn't like it, so I watch it by myself. I like it. And then we're watching the 100 Little Fires or whatever it's called with Reese Witherspoon. It's good. It's a solid, and we're caught up with it where it's once a week, so it's fine.
The thing with Tiger King, for me, like I understand my choosing not to watch it has no impact on the world, has no impact on the relative success of a show. at the end of the day, you've got to be a man of integrity, a man that looks himself in the mirror and is relatively comfortable with who and what he is as a human being and what he stands for.
Right.
I don't want to dignify giving those people attention, respect. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's also one of the one positive things, even though I think it is driving my fiance insane. The fact that we don't live together, it allows her time. Like, she wanted to watch Tiger King. I had no desire to watch Tiger King. So instead of, having to have that fight on the couch about, what are we going to watch? And, and then it winds up, basically no one's happy. She's gotten to watch all that stuff on her own, but I don't know. Like, those are not the people that I would like to have occupying any amount of brain space.
It did lead to a great moment in Americana yesterday. OJ Simpson accused Carol, whatever her name is, of killing her former husband.
In fairness,
he's probably right.
Takes one to know one.
If there's an expert on the subject, I don't know.
If there's anyone in the world more tone deaf than OJ Simpson, or just
I don't think it's even tone deaf.
You think it's DGAF?
Yeah, I think he's a character now, and that's all this is.
Man.
Okay. Speaking of being able to look yourself in the mirror and be comfortable, I find myself, I'm addicted to OJ's Twitter feed.
It can be real. To read the responses to his stuff. You can spend hours.
No. This is way worse. If I wish it were some type of, glorified inside joke where I just went and scrolled immediately to the Twitter feed where, like, you go and read a comment section on a website or something. No. I want OJ's analysis. Like, I can't help myself. Have y'all listened to him on the NFL? I mean, listen, I get it as a network. You can't hire him. You can't put him in the booth, but
no, he knows the game.
I don't like, he does this thing where he's like making insanely good sense. And I'm like, God, I don't want to be here as a human being.
Yeah.
What kind of person do you think he plays golf with every day? Because he's on the golf course every day. Who's in that foursome?
Ass kissers.
Scared one.
Do what now, Jeffrey?
I said scared people. I mean, what are you going to... If OJ asked you to play golf, you going to say no?
Yes. Yeah, I would absolutely say no.
No. In person.
Yeah, I would just say no, I'm good. Absolutely. I would have no problem telling OJ Simpson no.
I would try to make every excuse in the book, but at a certain point, there is a level of fear of, I've seen those pictures, man, and I get it. Like, I'm not with Nicole, but
You think it's the same 7-8 dudes, or you think he's got like a circle of 40 that are more than happy to go out there and do it?
Well, he lives in Vegas now too, right?
Yeah.
So when you talk about like a town of soulless leeches, Vegas has got to be in our top 5, right?
I've only been there one time, but yeah, I would think that's probably
But are we
true.
talking about Vegas, or are we talking about like people that just live out in Henderson?
He lives pretty close to the city, but I would think there are people that come into Vegas and the thought of, hey, I get to hang out with OJ for a day. I mean, that's a pretty good conversation starter when you get back to California.
I mean, that's, a golf course is a relatively safe environment, and you got the story of, man, I played golf with Juice.
Yeah.
And lived.
That's what I mean. That's a photo that
there's a status symbol to this a little bit.
Not
really a status symbol,
it's a really good conversation piece. It's like, let's say there's a president that you completely disagree with, but you have an opportunity to have your photo taken with that president. You absolutely do it because
we're comparing OJ to a president.
I don't know how far away we are these days, but you know what I mean. I think we could go back and trace some presidents back, and we could accuse them of being killers.
Whoa.
There's people dying today.
I do love that. I want him tried for murder. I want him tried for murder.
Oh yes.
Okay.
Come on.
This is a good question.
we-
How far? I mean, we've had a pretty hot week. We might have a pretty hot next week. I got some leads here. Sammy in the live stream says, "Get OJ on the pod. He'd do it." Well, we have no chance of getting OJ on the pod. How far down removed will we have to do to get someone connected to OJ on the pod? How far do we have to go?
I don't know. Now might be the time to try.
I mean, could we get like a Mike Gilbert or somebody on the show?
Probably.
Maybe.
What else are they doing?
Jeffrey, you book people. Opinion here?
I see. I don't even. What is OJ's inner circle now?
Well, I don't think it's just current. I think you're just trying to grab somebody from that 5-year period.
He's got an attorney that there in Vegas who really protects him. We could get Cato Kalin on and get him to talk about the Brewers. Big baseball fan. Big baseball fan.
Cato appears will do just about any radio show.
Now, he might want money for it.
Yeah, that was my thing. I was like, I think that guy's getting appearance fees, which, hey, all the power to him.
Yeah.
I don't really know. I mean, I don't know how close you could get.
Yeah, it's a good question for the next week or two.
I'll reach out to Cato. I've reached out to some Major League Baseball players about coming on, guys who would normally never even answer, and a couple of them have actually answered. They're bored.
Oh, yeah. I will say this is the easiest booking time in terms of just getting guys. And, especially when you consider this was going to be Final Four week.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Tomorrow, we had a subscriber had been kind enough to give us tickets to Grizzlies Mavericks, which was going to be played tomorrow night, basically courtside. Carson was so excited. But alas.
I mean, we'd be in the thick of a heck of a playoff race right now for the 8th seed.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, you start kind of if I let myself go there, I kind of get a little melancholy. Like, man, this would have been really fun. Like, this would be the second full week of the baseball season, and
this is about as good of a point on the calendar as you get. Baseball, you're still excited to watch baseball. You've got Final Four. The Masters would have been next weekend. Of course, you've got Mania this weekend, the showcase of the Immortals. This is, I guess we still have Mania. Hey, Vince McMahon, then, now, forever, whenever you need him, baby. But someone posed this question to me yesterday, and I didn't have a great answer. What do we miss the most about sports? And the best answer I could come up with is, and for all the gambling jokes, it's not that. I miss the unpredictability of sports. Of, you go in, you think you know what's going to happen, and then you watch a game play out, and I miss that real-time drama of how is this going to play out.
I know what I miss about it. I miss two things. One is just the background of it, and two, and I realized this yesterday, I miss how excited Carson would get about, hey, this game tonight, this Clippers-Mavericks, how do you think PG's going to do against Doncic? I got to sort of, with him, I got to kind of be a kid again a little bit. And, because now, we've seen the way the sausage is made. I've covered pro sports too, and obviously I've seen the absolute sausage factory that is college sports. Where, I make a living on it. I need it to come back, but do I, quote, miss it, end quote? Nah, not really. But the excitement that he gets on, hey, because he's at that point where, yeah, he likes the Cubs and he likes the Thunder, but he likes all the teams. And so if there's some hot rookie pitcher for the Twins or something, if he's pitching that day, Carson's kind of dialed in, and I miss that.
I would be lying if I said I didn't miss the NCAA tournament, but it's kind of in that same mold. I mean, the one thing when we were like spin zoning, the good things about not having the NCAA tournament, my number one thing is I don't have to read all those blowhards that spend, 59 weeks of the year ripping the NCAA and how corrupt it is and all this. And these 3 weeks, this event, this tournament, God, this is great. Amazing, amazing, amazing. It's like, I at least got 3 weeks of not having to like sit there and put myself through that.
Yeah, I won't miss those tweets from those guys. Hey, speaking of, I think you're ahead of it a little bit. I don't know that Chase has watched it at all. I know I haven't, but we've been requested to, and we've said we would. The HBO thing on the NCAA FBI thing. I think you've watched some of it, right?
I've watched all of it. The scheme.
Have you watched it at
No,
all?
I read. Was it Gilbo's column yesterday? That's the only thing I've done to this point. Okay. I have not.
I haven't even read that. You walked away fairly disappointed. Is that right, Jeffrey?
Disappointed's probably a stretch. I left trying to figure out, did I find it to be a fart in church because I understood and knew coming in how players wind up in certain places. And so because I knew how the game worked, like I was wondering, it's like, okay, is that maybe the most interesting thing? And so if you know how it works, it's like you're just missing on a big element. And I thought about it, it's like, no, there's been plenty of movies I've watched where I know the book and I know the plot, and even if I know where it's going, I'm still locked in and want to see it. I think the problem was it was so one-sided because, for obvious reasons, the FBI was obviously not going to agree to, interviews or their side of the story, and neither were the coaches or anyone on the other side of it. So it just comes off being the story according to Christian Dawkins. And I'm whether it be the season, whether it be I forgot what Calipari's like inside look was, or the harder way. When something's clearly, propaganda, for a lack of a better word, I'm just not all that interested. And Christian Dawkins, I didn't think he was a liar. I really didn't. But I did not find him. I found him to be closer to a con man than a victim.
So I have heard, I guess, the 1.5, 2 minutes clips of Will Wade, I guess, talking to Dawkins and Wade clearly talking about buying players and stuff like that. Do you think any of that sticks? Does the NCAA, are they going to be able to turn – most coaches that I've talked to think Will Wade's going to pay for it. He's going to be the next guy that really pays. That's coaches who, frankly, don't give a damn, who don't compete against him and don't really care. They just think he's going to get hammered. When you heard that, do you agree?
I do not think what we heard on tape is going to be the smoking gun, if you will. I don't know if that's going to be the loaner car or the couch visit that the NCAA is looking for. I do think, though, it could be the draft night, and that's the motivation of going to get him because it embarrasses them. But I think the NCAA has their out on this. Christian Dawkins is a convicted felon in 2 different trials. He ends the spoiler alert. He ends the documentary by saying "F the NCAA," so they can just go, well, this is clearly an agenda-driven guy, and how can you trust his word? And I mean, there's no other anyone with a brain that listens to what Sean Miller and Will Wade said. To me, I do not even understand how you could. Well, Will Wade doesn't even beat around the bush. Will Wade's the guy that bragged.
Yeah.
He was bragging about what he was doing.
Yeah.
His wiretap, and that's the other thing. We didn't really learn anything. These were the wiretaps of what was reported. Whenever Will Wade and Sean Miller got suspended.
Yeah.
Will Wade's wiretap sounds worse than it read, and it read terribly.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, Gilbo's Twitter yesterday, this was 15 hours ago as of now, the story, well, the tagline of it is, the longer Will Wade remains at LSU, the more of an embarrassment LSU remains. And then his copy at the top of the tweet, Will Wade is so clearly guilty, it's effing funny, column, colon.
No. Really effing funny.
Yeah.
Like he's like, no. You don't understand. Like this is a strong ass offer. No, this was an effing strong ass offer. Like he like cuts him off. It's like
Yeah.
It is nice.
I don't
like you get.
I don't
look
know
at Will Wade. You look at Will Wade and you go, that guy's a cheese dick. And it is nice to know. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna keep on judging because I'm batting 1,000.
Everything I hear from people who should be dialed into it is that they're only keeping him around right now to prevent buyout language from kicking in. They're waiting. I think LSU, frankly, is waiting for the NCAA to hammer Will Wade so that they don't have to pay Will Wade.
It wouldn't surprise me if there's an offering.
You know, especially if you can do it where he takes the heat and your program doesn't get hit that hard.
And they don't ever look in more in football?
Yeah, they leave it alone. Hey, here's the fall. Here's LSU's big punishment, and football gets clear skating. I will say on the football thing, as much as people ridicule it, I've never, you know me, y'all known me a while. I'm not one to defend the NCAA investigative arm. I don't think they can go back as far back as they'd have to go from a statute of limitations standpoint to do anything about the Our Lady of the Lake deal. I know the stories are recent, but the actual payments.
Yeah, it's like 2013, isn't it?
Yeah, and some of the players that got paid played before then. Now, were they still making payments? They probably were, but they haven't been able to prove that. The part that got proven in court, I think, exceeds the statute of limitations.
This was the most interesting aspect of the documentary. And I wanted to get the clip and send it to Gabe and to Jay. Christian Dawkins had the line, this is just college basketball. What do you think college football is like?
Just as bad?
Just different.
Just different?
Yeah.
Different.
No, it's more wide scale. There's more money involved.
Yeah, I said that on the message board today. Every Power 5 program, with no exception, cheats in football. Because if you don't, you can't even compete. Now, there are levels of cheating.
So they use the Tarkanian line to open, like it was the is like a title slide, if you will, or a title shot. 9 out of 10 coaches cheat. The other one's in last place.
Well, I mean, it's really kind of a matter of the ones that, quote, don't. It's because they don't have the resources to do it. We used to say this about Freeze and Ole Miss. It was kind of my defense of, not really a Freeze, but when people would talk about the Ole Miss thing, I would say, man, if they bought everyone that they tried to buy, it'd have been a completely different program. Why didn't they get, Peyton Barber, Carl Lawson, the Daniels kid at Indiana that ended up at Auburn. And I'm not just naming Auburn guys for a minute. Shaheem Carter.
Nigel Morgan.
Yeah, a bunch of those guys. Well, Morgan, actually, his deal was a little bit more academic related. His deal was more, his family was like, you need to go to Notre Dame. You're from the Midwest. You need to go to Notre Dame. But there are lots of kids in the Deep South. The linebacker that ended up at LSU, the defensive lineman that ended up at LSU, I can't think of his name.
Gocho.
Yeah, I mean, why did all of those guys end up at other programs? Because Ole Miss got outbid. Did Ole Miss bid on those guys? Abso-freaking-lutely. Get mad at me if you want, people, but they did. Ole Miss was trying to buy those guys. They weren't coming for free. There were a lot of those guys in that, was it the 13 class, that they were trying to get all of those guys. I mean, Hugh Freeze gets criticized for getting Laramie Tunsil. He was not trying to stop at Tunsil, man. There were a bunch of dudes they were trying to get done. The network was rolling at that point.
No, people got pissed because they paid Laramie beforehand and they didn't get Laramie.
How the hell you think Jeffrey Simmons didn't end up at Ole Miss? What was the name? Chris plays for the
Jones.
Chiefs now. Chris Jones. I mean, those are bidding wars. You win some, you lose some. But I used to say this about Ole Miss. I'm like, guys, if Ole Miss cheated the way that you all think they cheated, their roster would look different today. And they look at me like I had snakes coming out of my head. And I'm like, yeah, what? These are legitimate media people. They just blind to it. It's like, what are you doing? Of course you're trying to buy players. And I'm not criticizing Mississippi State for buying those players. Because if you don't buy them, you can't compete.
Well, that's why they're forced to. They have to compete with them cheating
Well, they
bears.
do. Well, seriously. Well, everyone does. In all seriousness, Jeffrey, I mean, if you go into a Power 5 program, hold on. If you go into a Power 5 program with the philosophy of we are going to, it's when Drinkwitz does, we're not going to do all that. Well, then, dude, you can prepare yourself for a couple of 3 and 9s and your ass is fired in 2 years because it won't work that way.
No, the idea of one school cheats to get a kid and yours doesn't is so logically infallible to me.
It's one of two myths. The other myth is that the NCAA doesn't want to bust Alabama and LSU and Georgia. Those people at the NCAA and those investigative arms, those would be the scalps that they would tack to their wall and say, look at me, I'm number one. They can't get them because the networks are too layered. They can't find it.
Yes, and then the schools that get caught are the sloppy and the ones that
don't have as many resources, and they're not as good at layering it. And it gets caught. I mean, like the Ole Miss case was easy for the NCAA on so many levels. It was easy.
I would even say it's layering obviously is a huge part of it, and having more people helps if you can control them. The problem that I've always seen with Ole Miss is it's not the operation itself. It's the operation includes people that want you to know they're in the operation.
Absolutely. They talk way too much. There are people that are involved at the top of it that just won't stop talking.
Now, I will admit, as someone who used to cover recruiting, that was kind of nice.
Sure. But, I can tell you from covering Alabama that the people in the network keep quiet. Or else you lose your spot in the network.
Who was it? Was it one of the Mobile car dealers? Who was it that Saban put his head on a spike?
Essentially, yeah.
That was one of my all-time favorites.
Just say, hey, this is what happens.
I know you guys got a couple minutes, Jeffrey. I think we're going to do it today, but tomorrow we're going to talk about some of the last 10 years of football games that are stuck in our memory. What's 2, 3, 4 for you? Just you didn't have to cover them, just in general. Last decade college football, what games stick out?
All of college football or Ole Miss?
Whatever. All of it. All of it.
All of college football. Deshaun Watson, the championship game in Tampa.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was a big one. Urban Meyer getting spanked by Clemson 38-0. He was eating I think it was a Papa John's personal pan.
Oh, is that where the pizza photo comes from?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
In the bowels of the Fiesta Bowl. Georgia's, Tua Tagovailoa coming off the bench and beating Georgia.
Yeah, it was a big game.
Then numbnuts Kirby calling the fake punt in the SEC title game. That one stands out. I mean, the truth is, you can basically just go and look at games that determined the SEC and then go kind of look at the playoff games. The Georgia, Oklahoma, Bakers, that game
that was one that stuck out to me as a really entertaining game that I still remember, that I was absolutely dialed into, because I'm probably less of a college football viewer than the two of you. And that was a game that drew me in and kept me.
The setting helped in that one too.
It was Rose Bowl. It was perfect weather, the Rose Bowl, all that stuff. Yeah, and then it was a back and forth.
Game of runs, Oklahoma jumps out, then Georgia answer. Like it was just a fantastic.
It
was
felt
as
like
good
an
of a-
NBA Game 7 that was really competitive, played in the Rose Bowl. You know what I mean? It was not a lot of defense, lots of scoring, and it was really fantastic. And when it was over, you were kind of drained. I remember when it ended, I couldn't decide whether I was more sad that the game was over or that I felt bad for the OU kids. The game was so competitive that you have that moment when you're neutral in the fourth quarter of a game. You go, God, man, someone's got to lose this, and that sucks.
Well, for all the Lincoln Riley's a genius, he pulled a Justin Herbert there. He turtled his ass off. I mean, he just that head came out of the shell and he just popped it right back in. He was just he had a horrific last quarter and then a horrific last. Now I do think
total
Baker
opposite of what Ed Orgeron did this year, all year long, where they never did that. They never had that moment. They just kept going.
Now Kirby did it the next week, but I give Kirby credit when they got into their game plan wasn't working, and he basically, I guess it's when you're playing Oklahoma and you know how they can score, you just say, okay, let's let this game get drunk. I know the stakes weren't significant. Last year's Alabama-Auburn was a hell of a football game. In terms of just watching a football game and not really caring one way or the other, that was as entertaining of a football game as I've watched in a long time.
In fairness to that rivalry, it delivers more often than not, especially on the years when it's at Jordan-Hare. It almost always delivers. I mean, it lives up to the hype quite a bit.
I completely agree. I mean, what are some other? Oh, the Florida LSU. Remember when they were fighting over the hurricane and where to play that game? Yeah, that game stands out, and LSU got stuffed at like the 1.
I'll tell you one that stood out to me was the loser leaves town game, LSU Auburn.
Yeah,
where Les Miles couldn't get it done and gets fired the next day. If you go back, and this is the benefit of hindsight, but I remember being glued to that game because you knew whoever lost was in bad trouble. And they were both trying to lose, it looked like. And you go back and look at how things would have been different across the board if you just changed the outcome of that one game.
Was the same weekend of Georgia Ole Miss, right? When Kelly,
that does sound
like 40.
right-ish.
Yeah, I'd have to look. Yeah, I can't answer that with any authority.
The only reason why I say that is that game was at 11 or whatever. That was the SEC Network early game.
Yeah,
and then I think the Auburn LSU game was later, and I remember being able to watch most of that.
Who you got on today?
Hell if I know.
What kind of pushback, or did y'all get any pushback on the doctor yesterday? Or
Really, we didn't. I'd say we're probably about 2.5, 3. You'll find the first week there's like shock and like is it really going to be like this? Then people go stir crazy for a week. And then the next week you get a lot of pushback. And then this week, what I'm noticing is there's a lot of acceptance.
Yeah.
But it's definitely been it's been an interesting. I will say this: had we had that doctor on last Wednesday instead of yesterday, I think the reaction would have been completely different. And that's only 7 days.
What's the website if people like to find that since they don't know what we're talking about?
You can just search the Jeff Calkins Show on iTunes, Stitcher, whatever podcast forum you want. It was hour 1 of yesterday. The doctor's name is Dr. John McCullers. You can also go to our website, which used to be 929ESPN.com. I think that still technically sends you there, but now it's like 929ESPN.radio.com, I believe.
And it starts at about the 6:45 mark, something like that, 6:50.
Yeah, and if you want to, if you're not a podcast person and you just want to listen, all you have to do is go to I can actually remember that 929ESPN.com oxfordex.com. That'll send you to the website.
Okay.
There is a link at the top banner. It says podcast. You click that podcast link. It'll send you to a list of shows. Scroll down to the bottom and you see the Jeff Calkins show. And then click on the Jeff Calkins show. And then it's yesterday's hour 1. And you can just click on that and it'll play it right there on your computer, whatever device you are on. And I can't recommend it enough because I think my feeling on sports is well documented. Not every doctor hates sports, guys and gals. It's just kind of the reality of it.
Yeah. Appreciate it, bud. We'll talk to you again.
All right, guys.
Have a good one.
Jeffrey Wright there joining us on the Rafters Music and Food Hotline. We're going to go to Ross Dellinger. That's a pre-recorded interview here in a minute. Before we do it, I'll tell you about Special Orthopedic Group. The big thing to know with them right now is that they are open, the Tupelo and the Oxford locations. You can skip the ER for urgent ortho-related injuries at both those places. They're offering virtual health telemedicine. Gave me an example of that. Patients have direct access to all SOG physicians and nurse practitioners. Patients have 24-hour access to appointments at 662-767-4200 or SOGMS.com. No referral is needed, and walk-ins are welcome. Again, 662-767-4200.
Is Ed Orgeron really getting a divorce?
Yeah, that's correct. I'll read the story to you in a minute. When we get
Oh,
done.
wow. I had no idea.
It was not an April Fool's joke, even though it came out yesterday.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Yesterday was a weird day for me. I was on the phone a lot. I had some accounting stuff I had to do. I had to get it done. And I spent most of the afternoon trying to kind of catch up. And I had promised Carson that I'd play him in a game of one-on-one. And so I had that. And he showed up in time to play. And I knew that meant, hey, we're going to go play. And then I just lost track of the day. I did not know that. Wow. That's interesting. Sorry. This podcast is also brought to you by Dead Soxy. It's a incredibly strange time. Millions all over the world have been impacted by these unusual events, and the Dead Soxy team hasn't been immune to the situation like the rest of the world. They're faced with some tough choices, and what they're doing instead of cutting jobs is they're trying to think about things a little differently. They want to keep their team intact, paid, and employed, and they need your help to make it happen. In the spirit of people helping people, they've decided to run a first-of-its-kind support sale. They have slashed their prices on their fantastic product, $6, $9, $11 a pair. If you haven't tried Dead Soxy, now would be a great time. Go on, get some of the $6 socks. You can, you'll enjoy it. You'll love them. You'll absolutely love them. And you'll help them in the process. $6 for you can't find those at the department store for that price. So they'd rather you get their socks discounted so they can keep paying their team than worry about margins at times like this. DeadSoxy.com. By the way, Zach Barry and I will be taping a soft verbal podcast presented by Dead Soxy a little bit later in the day. This podcast is also brought to you by Nest & Wild. Sleep better with a Nest & Wild mattress. Nest & Wild's a Mississippi-based mattress company making a high-quality mattress delivered right to your door. They make buying a new mattress easy. Every Nest & Wild is 1 foot thick, giving you comfort and support that will last. A lot of online brands sell an 8 or 10-inch mattress with less support and durability, but not Nest & Wild. From the twin size to the California King, they're all 1 foot thick, 100% American-made, and it's a great deal. I'll tell you about a promo code in a minute. First, know this. It's a no-risk decision. Nest & Wild believes in their product so much they're offering a 99-night trial on every mattress, so try it out. Sleep on it for 99 nights, and if you don't like it, it's cool. You can return it. NestandWild.com. Enter the promo code REBEL20. That's REBEL20. Get 20% off your purchase. Your mattress will arrive at your door in 3 to 5 days.
Podcast also brought to you by Visit Oxford. Visit OxfordMS.com is the website. You can go there to see ways to help out people in the hospitality industry right now. They're doing some things, including Tip Roulette, which they've signed on with a website that allows consumers to virtually tip local bartenders, servers, hostesses, and similar workers. The thing started in Chattanooga, and it's got more than 55,000 donations to this point nationwide. So you can click on the Oxford, Mississippi page at serviceindustry.tips with the opportunity for tip a local hospitality worker with a name and place of employment. with Venmo, Cash App, and more. So take advantage of that. They've also partnered with United Way. You can find out more about that again. Visit oxfordms.com. We're going to go now to Ross Dellinger again. This is pre-recorded, so if you're in our live chat, just hang in. Be right back, and we'll have some other topics for you. And if you're on the podcast, Ross in 1 second. Thanks to Ross for giving us a little bit of time yesterday, running it this morning, but whatever, either way. Thanks for his time with that. The podcast brought to you in part by Tyson Drugs and G&M Pharmacy. 662-236-2222 is the phone number to give them a call. They deliver locally in the Oxford area to your home or workplace, so they can take care of you during this trying time. And also with MedSync, they'll fill everything on the same day each month to take care of you and try to minimize exposures and the like. So appreciate them, and again, 662-236-2222.
We're also brought to you by Pinnacle Trust. They're based in Madison, Mississippi. Clients in more than 20 states, advisors in multiple states as well. They provide detailed, specialized investment management, financial planning, retirement planning for individuals and businesses, and much more. Pinnacle Trust investing is treated like a commodity. Decisions are made using objective information and research, not emotions. So regardless of your level of wealth, Pinnacle Trust will sit down with you, listen to your goals, study your expenses, and put forth a comprehensive, detailed financial and retirement plan built just for you. It's pintrust.com, PINNtrust.com. Mention that you heard about Pinnacle Trust on the podcast. You get 10% off your first year's fee. And we're brought to you by John Edwards of Regency Travel Incorporated in Memphis. I know nobody's traveling now. Everybody is staying at home, sheltering in place, whatever the difference is that Chase is going to tell me about in a minute. We're all doing one of those things. So eventually when that's over, we're going to want to get the hell away from our homes, our towns. We're going to want a break. We're going to want a vacation. John can help you. He can make it one that you will always remember. It creates a lifetime of unique memories. What you do is you give him a call. Just give him some parameters, give him a budget. He's going to give you options, 901-494-3387, or send him an email, jedwards@regencytravel.net. First-time clients can save $50 off their first booked trip just by telling John you heard about Regency Travel on the podcast.
So, I'm trying to get my thoughts in order a little bit. Sorry. Yesterday, Tate Reeves did issue a statewide. It's really more of a stay-at-home order than a shelter-in-place order. These people are using these two terms interchangeably, and they're.
What's the difference?
Well, shelter-in-place is much stricter. I mean, what has been done here is or what has been done statewide with the stay-at-home is essentially what Oxford already had in place. And we'll find out a little more. I talked to Oxford Mayor Robin Tannehill this morning, and said there's a board meeting at 10 o'clock this morning, which is live streamed, so I'm sure you can find a replay if you're listening to this podcast after that. But they're going to define kind of what exactly non-essential businesses means a little more clearly than maybe it had been to this point.
Leaving liquor stores alone, right? Or do I need to make my stock up run?
I think you're okay with the liquor stores. Hold on.
I do have kind of a running list of if I have to make an order, thinking I'm stuck here for 2 months, I've got an idea of what my order looks like.
Well, last time we talked about this, you told me you thought it was about $2,000 worth of material.
I think I can get it under that, but I will be stocked if that comes to that.
So the big thing is, and as we've known, is, hey, just leave home for errands that are essential and things that you need. Don't just go out gallivanting around the community. It's really the main goal of this. Also, it's worth noting that locally they have the ability to put in stronger orders than are currently in place from a statewide standpoint. So if they want to make things stricter this morning, they can. They're fully within their rights to do so. I think it's also worth noting that this executive order says that all evictions are suspended. Locally, they don't have the ability to do that, even though that's been kind of a talk on social media and things. Look, mortgages are still due, rent's still due, all that kind of stuff. But from a statewide level, they have suspended evictions because of this. And then the graphic that they put out yesterday said that looking for anything that was kind of relevant here. It said, obviously, individuals are stay at home except for the limited allowances in the order. When outside their homes, must follow social distancing guidelines. Social and other non-essential gatherings in groups of more than 10 people must be canceled or rescheduled. Restaurants can still do as they were. They can still do delivery. They can still do curbside service and the like. As said by Robin, people may leave their homes only to perform essential activities such as caring for someone in a vulnerable population, getting food or necessary supplies, and working for an essential business. Individual outdoor recreation is encouraged, but not group recreation such as basketball or soccer. There's also a stipulation in there, if you've been going out, trying to get some air around town, walking trails still open, at least statewide. I don't know what Robin's going to do. I don't know what the board's going to do. But from a statewide level, the parks are closed. The walking trails are open is what they've done to this point. So,
Well, you can't go play 5-on-5 basketball.
No. Can you go shoot hoops by yourself?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't either. I was just,
I don't think so.
I
think if you want to shoot hoops by yourself,
better have a goal in your yard.
Put a hoop in your driveway.
Yeah.
I will say that there were some of the neighborhood kids that the other day were out playing, and they were wearing jerseys. I saw a Terrence Davis Raptors jersey. I saw a Russell Westbrook Thunder jersey. Might give you an idea who was wearing that one. I saw a bunch of jerseys, and it was quickly evolving into a game that was probably too big. But they were kids, so I don't know.
$100 fines, misdemeanors, Mr. McCready. Start doling them out.
But, you felt bad. Like, hey, you guys probably don't need to be doing that. But
you let it go.
I did that day. Talked about it.
You seem to have a little remorse now as time has gone on.
A little. I don't know. Beats me. I don't know what this is. Look, we are all in. He was in a better mood after that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Everybody's doing the best they can right now. Just.
Yeah, I called my parents last night. It was really the only thing we talked about, and I got off the phone, and the kids were like, "I do not want to talk about that. Do not want to talk about that." I get it. I understand.
Yeah, I don't know. Eddie O. See, I've got it up here from the Advocate. OSU football coach Ed Orgeron has filed for divorce from his wife Kelly. Orgeron filed the divorce petition February 26th in East Baton Rouge Parish Family Court, stating he and his wife separated February 24th, so prior to the pandemic. I know, in all honesty, who's getting divorced in the middle of the pandemic?
Right.
Quote, and have lived separate and apart without reconciliation since that date. The petition is titled, quote, in the interest of the marriage of EO and KO. Their full names are used in the filing. They were married in 1997, have twins that were born in 98. Orgeron states that he's entitled to have the exclusive use and occupancy of the former matrimonial domicile in Baton Rouge. He has no objection to Kelly being granted exclusive use and occupancy of a home in Mandeville until such time as the community property is settled either by conventional agreement or judicial partition. The Orgeron family cannot be reached for comment on Wednesday.
Well, that's sad.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not. There's no joke to be had here at all.
No. The answer to your question, though, and I've read this in a lot of places.
What is my question?
Well, you were saying that about who divorces during a pandemic.
Yeah.
I think on the end of this pandemic.
Yeah, I get that. I'm saying literally the functionality of right now doesn't make a ton of sense.
I think divorce attorneys are going to be really busy.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah. I agree with that completely. I just meant literally in this moment. That would seem to be good in the forest and the trees, a little confused at the moment. But, but yeah, I think we'll get a little better idea of exactly what essential businesses is here at 10 o'clock. My gut, and I really hate to even say much because I could be completely wrong and people aren't going to go watch this stream. They're just going to go, well, Chase said this.
No, that'll never happen.
Never happen. I'm assuming a lot of retail that is non-food related gets cut, is my guess. Not liquor. Not liquor. I think that's fine. I mean, like I told you, in all honesty, there is a certain public. I know everybody makes fun of it, and I get on the surface why you make fun of it, but people with alcoholism, they're going to go through withdrawals. They're going to need hospital areas. There's going to be medical attention.
Now's not the time.
No, there is a certain pragmatic use to this.
And I'm joking. I mean, I'm not. I would not have the shakes.
Look, I mean, let's be
honest. For me a nice coping
We're kind
mechanism.
of joking here, but you've got enough alcohol to last you 3 months.
Yeah.
If you, really, if it got bunkered down.
Yeah.
Well, it's like somebody goes, hey, if it closed, what would you do? I'm like, well, hey, I don't drink much anyway. And B, have you seen the cabinet? Like, I'll be all right for a while.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of joking about it a little bit.
I don't know. Strange times.
Here's
man.
what's
Strange
interesting.
times. Sure.
And not to get and let me be very careful here. I'm not criticizing anything to do with organized religion at all. None, zero. But now's not the time to have the congregation full. Like, the church that you and I both go to, Eddie Rester's our minister, and they're streaming services. You can still watch. You can still get the service. I think they were providing a way for people to get a palm for Palm Sunday.
Yep.
And I get that people miss church.
Sure.
I understand that 1,000%. But now's not the time to fill up the services. It's not. It's not the time. This is not the time. I think now's not the time for large, like the Florida governor, DeSantis. What are you doing, man? Lead.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, look, everybody's just doing the best they can. There's no doubt that the lack of congregating in church is a difficult thing mentally for a large number of people. I feel like you and I are members of the same church. I feel like they've gone about it the best they can. Everything's online on Sundays. You get 2 different service options. You get a contemporary service option. You get a traditional service option. And they're going to do the best they can with Easter. And that's all you can do.
And that's all you can
make
do.
the best decision, and you go with it as is.
And in many ways, that's what we're all trying to do with a lot of things.
I mean, maybe I'm giving something for somebody else. I think this would be a really good news story. I'm curious, because people aren't actually sitting there when the offering happens, how much donations are up or down. Because you can still do it online. You can still do different things, but I wonder what...
Probably down.
I wonder what ties change with this situation. I'd be really curious about that.
Probably down. And plus, unemployment's up. People are scared. I do think, sports aside for a minute, because we get a lot of sports questions, the encouraging thing that I took from the interview on the Calkins show yesterday, do you think schools are going to reopen in the fall? I don't think they're reopening this calendar. I mean, this academic year.
Yeah.
But I do think they're going to reopen in the fall. I think we're going to have to be a little – I don't think the schools that are real strict about absentees and stuff, I think they're going to have to chill. I think there might be some periods where there are some kids who are online only for a little while because they got exposed to something. I do think it's going to be different. But I think colleges are going to open in the fall. I didn't think that a week ago. I do now. I don't know. People say, what about sports? I don't know. What about large gatherings? I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. But I do think there is some light at the end of the tunnel. I was talking to someone yesterday who, not in sports at all, has seen probably some information that's being shared that maybe isn't being publicly shared, who agreed with the attorney for my brother's company that there is some light at the end of the tunnel in the middle of June. Significant light, real light, where I think we're going to be able to resume some, quote, normalcy, end quote, with the exception of people who are at risk. They're going to have to be cool.
Yeah, I listened to that thing yesterday. I didn't sense some huge negative answer from that. It was fine. It was fine. It was a lot that we know. You like a doctor saying it. And the best thing about him, and it's frankly what I liked about it the most, because we're not getting this in a lot of different areas, even from medical professionals, there's a lot of I don't know. We don't know yet. Give me 45 days and let's figure it out.
People who heard Ross have already heard this a little bit. I talked to a Big Ten coach yesterday who was like, hey, what are you hearing? And I'm like, I don't know. We're all kind of just hearing stuff. And he said they're kind of bracing up there in the Big Ten for starting camp, and camp's the wrong word, starting a ramp up to something that would have been a camp in the past. Like, I think the traditional fall camp that we're used to covering is kind of out. I don't think it's going to be that. I think it's going to be more of a ramp up to something resembling a camp that's a preseason practice session. He kind of felt like the season would get played, but he felt like it might be a 3-week delay, that it might be the season starts the last week of September and then goes into December. And he's like, and I don't know what that would mean for bowls, and who knows. He said, he did agree with me, and Chris Landry said this too in a beer garden that you'll hear later today. The colleges are not going to be able to play without crowds. The optics aren't going to allow it. Mm-hmm. NFL might. MLB might. I think you're going to see an MLB announcement here pretty soon about a schedule plan that they have. The colleges are not going to be able to do that. They're going to have to at least be open to students, and they might leave it at that. That's what's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting, but you can't close the games that the student athletes play to the student bodies that they represent. That's such a terrible optic that they're not going to do it. He made a comment. He was kind of right. He goes, "Look, for us at the end of the year, it's going to be really cold."
Yeah,
but because if we're all honest, he goes, if we're all honest with each other, the August fall camps at a lot of places are borderline dangerous, and the early September games in our part of the country. I mean, if we're all just being real for a minute, they're not exactly pleasant to sit through. We get a break here and there, but we've been to some games first week of September where it was an absolute inferno in the stands. So, I think
if it's coming back at all, everybody's going to be like, great.
If you offered me today, hey,
the first game, September 24th.
Ole Miss opens with LSU in Baton Rouge, September.
Cool.
Done.
Yeah. Whatever.
Check.
Yeah. It's fine.
Where if they say, and I think this is likely. I do. I'm not breaking news here. I think this is real. For all of these schools, if they're going to close the schools, the brick and mortar portion of the schools this summer, bringing the student athletes in July is not only optically weird, it's practically impossible, right? So you have players. Let's take Ole Miss. Mm-hmm. What percentage of the Ole Miss team during the academic year lives on campus?
Freshmen and probably a few others, but not that.
So 30%-ish?
Yeah, sure.
So what do you do with the 70% that have places off campus? No. You can't go to those places. We're going to put you in. Okay, who's staffing that? No, you can't go to the grocery store. Okay, well, how do we eat? Well,
but Johnson Commons isn't open or whatever it's called now.
Right.
So, yeah.
So it's a pain in the ass. So if you told me that they said, hey, so here's the deal. We're going to let you guys come to campus a few days before the general student population begins to report, and we'll have a month and a half. Most of the coaches say, hey, we need 8 weeks, could get it done in 6, getting ready. Mm-hmm. It's not gonna be what we've always had. That is almost certainly not going to happen. But if you gave them 6 weeks-ish, 6 to 7 weeks, that would work. They could start in late September. It'd be all right. Maybe you put the games in the beginning, on the end. Maybe you push the conference championship games back. Maybe you have to kill conference championship games. I don't know. They'll figure it out. Like the coach I was talking to said, he goes, look, I've had to tell some of my colleagues who get, a little pissy, something's better than nothing. Anything's better than a canceled season. We're all going to have to be flexible. Unless there's some medical miracle that comes about, at which point, hell, we all celebrate. But if the doctors are right and the scientists are right and this thing's going to go into the summer and that there's a second wave that potentially comes, there's going to have to be a lot of care taken, and it's going to be, problematic, and people are going to have to be, it's going to be interesting.
We'll close here. Again, we'll do some college football games, some things tomorrow. Might do a mailbag. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Oh, no, David Brandt's joining us tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
That's right. So we'll play with David. He always has stories. We'll do something. Just your guess. Yesterday, last couple days, Wimbledon is canceled. The Open Championship is canceled.
British Open?
Yeah, right. I got kind of off nerd there. What do you think? What's the next sporting event that happens? Take out UFC or bull riding or any of that crap. Major sport.
Ooh.
What's the next one?
Okay, I'll answer your question.
Sure.
I'll first say that I'm patiently going to wait until somewhere in the June 10 to June 15 period.
Yeah.
Major League Baseball is going to put out a 100-game schedule.
Okay.
They're going to start around July the 1st. July the 4th is a Saturday. They want that weekend. They have to get going by that weekend or else they can't.
Sure.
They want to play 100 games. The players have signed off on doubleheaders. The MLB is much like the NCAA. They're going to be flexible with roster stuff and whatever. There is a problem with Major League Baseball has a problem because to play Major League Baseball, you also need some minor league baseball.
Of course.
And so
there's a functionality to that.
How do you do that? I think they're still trying to figure that out. But June 10 to 15 is going to be a drop-dead date for announcing something for MLB, NBA, MLS,
NHL probably.
NHL, and frankly, college football is going to have to announce something because there are logistics.
Sure.
You know, I mean, Penn State goes to Michigan. It's a 200-person travel party. There's stuff that has to be done. And if you're going to push that game back or whatever, you do have to kind of start announcing some of those things. You have to get – it's not a, hey, on Thursday, hey, you know what, let's play it. To answer your question, you made me bet today the next game that gets played of any significance in sports is something in the NFL in mid-September without fans.
Okay. I'm 50-50 on whether I want to say that exactly or baseball. I hadn't made my mind up yet.
If you tell me baseball gets played, I'm celebrating because I think that means a lot of stuff gets played.
I think, again, I said major sports, so I kind of sabotaged my own answer. I think the next thing's a PGA Tour event. I think golf comes out with or without fans first. You can do
sometime in summer?
Yeah, sometime mid to late summer, there's something golf-related. Because they're just kind of canceling on this little 3 to 4 week thing. They're kind of
the British Open is late July?
The British Open, the British Open was going to be, it's the last one now, so yeah, July.
That was alarming when I saw that this morning. I was like, wow.
Yeah, that was a little quick.
Now that is in Britain, and Britain's having some issues, right? Like the English Premier League is clearly done.
I think it was going to be at Royal St. George's, if I've got that right. Maybe I'm wrong. Because they've got a little thing. They're supposed to go to St. Andrews next year to make sure they're at St. Andrews for the 150th anniversary of the British Open, or the 150 playing, whatever it is. And now it's, hey, what, and I think they had this answer. When do you get these tournaments back on their rotation? Like, where are you putting it? What are you doing? And again, they'll figure it out. That's down in the weeds. But
something we can talk about another day.
Yeah,
but something to people that want to have sports discussions. This got mentioned to me twice yesterday, and I think it was just brainstorming, but it was interesting. If you're college football and there's the possibility of a canceled season or a half season or some sort of different season, there's the money is going to be a major topic, obviously. There's a possibility of something pretty drastic here that would require some contracts being broken and rewritten and stuff, but that would maybe give the networks something for the future that they want.
Mm-hmm.
Could the networks, and let's face this, Disney is huge in this deal. Disney and ESPN and ABC and everybody say to the college football people, all right, we'll float you some money, make it where you can keep paying your bills, sustain. In return, we redo these contracts now. We redo some of the grant and rights stuff now. Change it now. We go ahead and we need more LSU Penn State and less LSU Southeastern Louisiana.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Y'all get me? We need more Texas Washington and less Texas Sam Houston.
Yeah.
Because you're going to make us show all these games? Give us the games the people want. Give us the games we can sell. And in return, we get that this isn't your fault. Not our fault. Not your fault. Life happened. We'll help each other.
Mm-hmm.
The equivalent of a stimulus package, a recovery package.
Yeah.
You're going to hurt, and a handful of you aren't going to be able to make it, like ULM and Middle Tennessee and, you know.
But for the upper echelon, we'll take care of you.
But the Power Five, we're going to take care of you, and down the road,
you're going to take care of us.
You're going to take care of us
Yeah.
sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
Ole Miss, you're going to take that game you've got against Eastern Illinois, and you're not going to play it.
Yeah.
Instead, you're going to play Illinois.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because we need that 11 a.m. game. It needs to have some umph to it.
Yeah.
And if that means you go 4-8 instead of going 6-6, well, that's your problem.
Yeah.
That's conceivable. Sure. I've heard a couple people say it yesterday, and it was interesting.
Yeah. Topic for tomorrow. We'll close the week with David and some.
Let me tell you real quick because I forgot to pay one bill. This podcast.
I'll get to you.
Oh, okay.
Don't worry about it.
Never mind. Okay.
Yeah, we're all good. We'll talk to you tomorrow with David and the like. Appreciate everybody in the stream. Appreciate Ross and Jeffrey. And we'll talk to you then.